Hey there nation, and welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander Cheapskate, and welcome to the edition of Cheap Shots. The series is showing you how to save money on the wargaming hobby. And on today's episode, we'll discuss the new Plague Marine Kill Team from Games Workshop's Kill Team Starter Set for your games of Necromunda. We'll discuss the Kill Team's background narrative, its playstyle, its starting roster at 2,000 credits. We'll show you how to play this on the tabletop with tabletop tactics, discuss how this game can develop over the course of a campaign, and provide our concluding thoughts of using these miniatures in Necromunda. And because this video will be a little bit more of a deeper dive, I will put timestamps in the description box down below so that way you can click and navigate to the part of the video that interests you the most. So, once again, with the introduction for this one, the whole point of this video is actually help you to use your kill teams from Warhammer 40,000 Kill Team in your games in Necromunda. After all, recycling miniatures from multiple games is a great way to save a lot of money and actually having a lot of fun at exactly the same time. Unfortunately, we're currently living in some pretty inflationary times, so saving money on the wargaming hobby by playing multiple games with the same set of miniatures could really help you to broaden your horizons in terms of the number of games that you can use. And since Kill Team is a very popular skirmish game, I was looking for ways to actually fit those miniatures into Necromunda. After all, they both exist in the same universe as well as the same setting, so we could try to use these guys in your gangs, and that way you get a lot of fun at the tabletop. So with that being said, let's talk about how we could use Plague Marines in your games of Necromunda. So first of all, let's talk about the background narrative for this Kill Team, because obviously other players who might not want to let you use your Kill Team miniatures will need a justification for it. So here's the justification. We're going to represent the fact that these guys are House Goliath bounty hunters who are corrupted by chaos, because obviously Plague Marines have dedicated themselves to Nurgle, the god of plagues, and we're going to do exactly the same thing for these guys as well. They've sworn themselves a grandfather Nurgle in order to spread disease and corruption throughout the Underhive in exchange for immortality. And because since Chaos Space Marine stats are very similar to Goliath characteristics, they're very similar, right? Both groups are very strong, very resilient. They're also quite large. They have a lot of genetic manipulation and chemical manipulation in order to create both of them. At the same time, get a little bit of Papa Nurgle's influence in there, and this thing ends up being a really cool way to use Plague Marines in your games of Necromunda. So let's talk about the playstyle for this gang. So first of all, you only get 7 miniatures in this starting box set from Warhammer 40,000 Kill Team. So because that, I designed the list around these 7 miniatures specifically. I went with the assumption that you just want to use these 7 miniatures and nothing else in your campaigns, because after all, we're trying to save money. So in order to use those 7 miniatures quite effectively, I decided to make a very hard-hitting list. This gang is very high strength as well as really high toughness. Almost everybody in this game is actually at strength 4 minimum, and their toughness is anywhere between toughness 4 to toughness 5 in most cases. So your enemies get a very difficult time trying to injure you as well as trying to wound you as well. It's also very survivable because I've actually equipped over half this gang with bio boosters, and in case you're not sure what a bio booster is, it's a piece of war gear that when you take an injury roll, you actually get to roll 2 injury dice and pick the result you want instead. That way it makes these guys a little bit more resilient, because after all, with the Plague Marine lore, that's exactly what Plague Marines are all about. They're all about being high toughness and high resiliency. Now this list is also mainly a quarters battle list, which means that most of your fighting will be taking place within the close combat to up to 24-inch range, so a lot of medium to close range fighting for the most part as well. And the reason why I equipped them this way is because that's how the miniatures are actually equipped themselves in the Kill Team box set. So I know really not much in terms of flexibility, because whatever you get in that box set is what you're going to use on the tabletop. I also included a Psyker in this gang as well, because you automatically get one in that Kill Team, plus Psychic rules in Necromunda is also a lot of fun. And because this gang is very small numbered, it's only 7 miniatures in this gang, it's very elite with a very low miniatures count, which is actually quite nice. So if you want to later on expand your gang and make it larger by purchasing more miniatures, you could, but if you don't want to, that's perfectly fine, because you could just use these 7 miniatures and just equip them with everything they need to be successful on the tabletop. And I've actually created a list and actually represent that. So now that we're done talking about the play style, let's go ahead and talk about the starting roster. So this is my Plague Marine Kill Team starting roster for Necromunda. It's rated at 2,000 credits, so that way if you want to play in the Eranthic session, you can do that with 2,000 credits. Now obviously this is going to be a Nurgle Corrupted gang, and the reason why is because, well, they're Plague Marines, and Plague Marines are automatically recruited by Nurgle, so it automatically takes care of that. Now, you also get some pretty cool perks as being a Nurgle Corrupted gang in Necromunda. Once per end phase, you can reroll a single recovery dice. So this gang is very survivable, like I said. So even if you don't have a bio booster, you can still reroll a recovery dice to make your guys stay on the tabletop for longer as well. In addition, your gang's leader also gets 1+ to their wound characteristics, so your leader will have 3 wounds instead of 2. And if your gang does get any chaos spawn, they also get +1 to their toughness as well. And this gang will also be a Venator bounty hunter gang as well. And the reason why I decided to choose that gang layout is because they don't really have restrictions so much on their weapons and war gear and equipment. At the same time, they can also pick their own primary as well as secondary skills. There's a lot of flexibility in this gang. At the same time, you can also pick your characteristics. And that's the reason why I went with a Venator gang as the base on this one, so that way you can select the appropriate characteristics for each of the fighters. Now for the primary skills in this one, we're taking combat and ferocity for this gang, and the reason why is because, like I mentioned before, this gang is mainly close combat, and the reason why is because that is how they're equipped on the Kill Team starter box sets, so might as well take advantage of that with combat skills. We're also giving these guys ferocity as well to make them a little bit more resilient when they take wounds. So things like Nerves of Steel, for example, if you get hit, you can pass a cool test and they can get right back on their feet again. We also have things like what you call Impetuous, where they can close a distance towards their enemies. It just synergizes very well. Now for the secondary skill for this game, we decided to take Brawn because obviously they're Space Marines, so they're all about having strength, but it's not their primary focus. We took that as a secondary, as well as shooting as well, just because that way you can take some advantage of some shooting skill, which are more longer range options in this gang. Alright, so let's talk about your Plague Marine champion. He's going to be your hunt leader, and this character is going to cost 320 credits, and it's represented by the miniature that you see in the background from that starter box set. So let's talk about his characteristics real quick. So you have 4-inch wound allowance, as well as 3+ weapon skill, and a 4+ ballista skill, 4 strength, 4 toughness, 3 wounds, 4 initiative, 2 attacks, 7 leadership, 6 cool, 7 willpower, and 7 intelligence. We're using the close combat characteristics from the Venator's stats that you can choose for your leader from the Book of Peril. Now, the reason why his stats not exactly the same is because we're going to actually use House Legacy rules in order to help them out to improve his characteristics by using gene smithing. So these guys are going to spend 60 credits in total. You're going to spend it on House Goliath Legacy. And the reason why is you got 30 credits for that, so that way you can get access to Natborn, which costs 20 credits for gene smithing. Now Natborn, what it does, it takes away 1 point from your cool, but that's okay though. You're still rocking a cool characteristic of 6+, which is very good for your gang. At the same time, it also increases your willpower by 1 and your intelligence by 2. That way, this character has a little bit more survivability in terms of doing things with an intelligence stat, like unlocking doors or searching loot counters. And at the same time, more importantly, his will characteristic drops down to +7. And that's really good too, because that gives you a 50% chance of actually surviving Psyker tests, or actually go up against groups like Corpse Grinders, for example. So if you got to take a willpower test, you have a 50% chance of passing that. Now we're going to further manipulate this guy's stats by using the Prime Specimen gene smithing upgrade, which costs 10 credits, and we're going to use that to increase his ballista skill. Unfortunately, the Venator ballista skill is a 5+, which is horrible, so we're using this +1 ballista skill to drop it to a 4+. Now, granted, it's not ideal because it's still a real basic ballista skill, but it's much better than the +5. And plus, the guy has a plasma pistol, so you want to make sure that you can use weapon accessories as well as short range modifiers to make it a little bit better in shooting. Now, once again, he is Nurgle Corrupted as well, so your guild leader does have 3 wounds on his characteristics, so he is very survivable as well. And for his equipment, we're giving him armored undersuit with furnace plates, so that way he has a 4-up armor save if he gets shot from the front, or a 5-up armor save if he's being shot from any other direction. We're also giving this guy a stiletto sword because stiletto sword is a toxin trait weapon, which is very similar to plague swords, and so we're using that for this character. We're also giving a plasma pistol as well because that's what the character automatically comes with. Plus, a plasma pistol is a high strength shooting attack. It can also be used in close combat. We're also giving this guy a bio booster, so in case he does run out of wounds, he can roll an additional recovery dice and choose which result he wants to stay on the tabletop. And because this gang only has 7 miniatures in it, we're giving him the Iron Will skill from the leadership skill tree, so that way you have -1 to your battle test. Because unfortunately, with this low model count, the moment you have a character go out of action, you're automatically at the threat of bottling out. So we decided to actually use that Iron Will skill to kind of offset that cost. And that's going to be your Plague Champion for your gang. Alright, so your next character is going to be your Plague Marine Fighter. That's the character represented by using the Plague Flail in the background in this image. He's going to be your Hunt Champion number 1. It's going to cost you 270 credits. Once again, using close combat stat line with 4-inch wound allowance, 3+ weapon skill, 5+ ballista skill, 4 strength, 5 toughness, 2 wounds, 5 initiative, 2 attacks, 7 leadership, 6 cool, 7 willpower, as well as 6 intelligence. Once again, using House Goliath Legacy with Natborn with all of its upgrades, as well as using the Prime Specimen upgrade. We're giving him +1 toughness, so this guy has toughness 5 now, which makes him very, very resilient. We're also giving him armor undersuit with furnace plates, as well as a Tenebrous Scourge, which is a versatile trait power weapon. I believe it's got a 3-inch versatile trait as well. Also gets +3 on the strength, so this guy is recharging at strength 7 in most cases. He charges in the close combat. He's got 3 attacks of that bad boy, so this guy is kitted out for killing. We'll also give him a bio booster as well in case he does run out of wounds, and we give him the Rain of Blow skill, so that way his fight actions are a simple action. That way, if you can't charge at your enemies, you can still use the versatile trait of your weapon to reach out and hurt somebody with that Tenebrous Scourge, which is a great weapon to use in close combat. Up next is your Plague Marine Icon Bearer, which is represented by the miniature in the background, as you can see in this image. He's going to be your second Hunt Champion. He's going to cost 335 credits for this fighter. Now, the reason why that's the case, he's got a 4-inch wound allowance, 3+ weapon skill, 5+ ballista skill, 4 strength, 5 toughness. He's got 2 wounds, 5 initiative, 2 attacks, 7 leadership, 6 cool, 7 willpower, as well as 6 intelligence. Once again, we're getting the House Goliath Legacy for Natborn as well as Prime Specimen. The Prime Specimen is going to be used to increase his toughness to toughness characteristic of 5. We're giving him armored undersuit as well as furnace plates, and we're also giving him a stiletto sword and a plasma pistol. The reason why is because stiletto sword, once again, is a plague blade, which is represented by the miniature in the background there. And because of plasma pistol, I mean, why not? It's high strength shooting attack. It's also going to be used in close combat as well. This guy's going to get 5 attacks on the charge, including his plasma pistol and his stiletto sword as well. We're also giving this guy a cult icon as well, so that way he has +1 to his group activation. So instead of activating just 1 fighter, he actually activates 2 fighters, kind of like a leader. And that's why he's a little bit more expensive than the other fighters. He's also got a bio booster as well, so in case he does run out of wounds, he can take 2 dice and roll for recovery and choose which one he wants. And we're giving him the Nerves of Steel skill from the Ferocity skill tree. And the reason why is because he's going to be shot at quite a bit by your opponents, so you want to make sure that he can pass that pinning test by passing a 6+ on its cool characteristic as well. And that's going to make up your second champion for this gang. Now let's talk about your gang fighter. So first of all, you have your Plague Marine Gunner. This guy's going to be Hunter number 1. It's going to cost you 315 credits. Once again, using the same close combat characteristics from the Book of Peril for the Venators. He's got a 4-inch wound allowance, 3+ weapon skill, 4+ ballista skill, 4 strength, 4 toughness, 1 wound, 5 initiative, 1 attack, 7 leadership, 7 cool, 7 willpower, as well as 7 intelligence. Now we're going to actually make this guy toughness 5. We're going to talk about how you do that here in a second. Now he's got the House Legacy as well, with the Natborn character upgrade, as well as Prime Specimen, giving him +1 to his toughness, making him toughness 5, which makes him very resilient. We'll also give him an armor undersuit as well as furnace plates, as well as a Balefire thrower as well. And that's to represent the plague thrower that he's actually carrying there, which is a flamer weapon. But this one is actually much more dangerous and a lot stronger because it is a Balefire thrower with all the characteristics that it entails. He's also packing a stiletto knife for a close combat weapon to represent a plague knife that you would normally carry as a Plague Marine. We're also giving the bio booster as well, so that way he can roll 2 dice for recovery tests and choose which one he wants. And we're also making this guy a specialist. That's the reason why he's carrying around that special weapon with that Balefire thrower as well. This guy is a close combat shooter that'll be using that template attack. He should be leading the assault on your assault fire teams as well, laying waste to fools with that Balefire thrower of his. Your Plague Marine Sniker will be Hunter number 2 in your gang. It's going to cost you 230 credits. He's got movement 4, 3+ weapon skill, 4+ ballista skill, 3 strength, and 4 toughness. He's got 1 wound, 5 initiative, 1 attack, 7 leadership, 7 cool, 6 willpower, as well as 7 intelligence. He's also got a House Goliath upgrade legacy with Natborn, as well as a Prime Specimen, giving him +1 to his will characteristic, which is going to drop his willpower down to willpower 6. That way he can trigger his psychic abilities. Now we're also going to spend 30 credits to get this guy a Psyker upgrade as well. And we're going to give him the Biomancy discipline for fast healing, so that way he's a little bit more survival on the tabletop. And plus he can also get an 18-inch range attack with cause pain, meaning he can take possibly fighters out of action if they suffered a wound or have a flesh wound. So it's a very powerful ability as well. He's also got an armored undersuit as well as furnace plates for armor save. He's also packing a chain glaive. We're going to represent that staff he's carrying and the creatures coming out of it, the stinging swarms of rot flies, that it acts kind of like a chain glaive so that we can slice up fools, because a chain glaive is an awesome close combat weapon with a versatile trait. Up next is your Plague Marine Grenadier. It's the Hunter number 3. It's going to cost 265 credits. He's got 4 inch wound allowance, 3+ weapon skill, 4+ ballistic skill, 4 strength, 5 toughness. He's got 1 wound, 5 initiative, 1 attack, 7 leadership, cool, willpower, and intelligence. Once again, he's got the House Goliath legacy with Natborn as well as Prime Specimen, getting his toughness up to +1, making him toughness 5. He's also got an armored undersuit and furnace plates, and we're packing this guy with a bolt gun because that's what the miniature is packing, as well as slow knife for close combat attacks. And we're also giving choke gas grenades because we can't really use plague grenades in this game, but choke gas grenades pretty much do the same thing with a tox attack, so that's what we're giving this character to use in his shooting attacks. And finally, your Noble Plague Marine is going to be Hunter number 4. He's also going to cost 265 credits, and he's equipped exactly the same way as your Plague Marine Grenadier. Those bolt guns that they carry has great 24-inch range. Is also strength 4 on the shooting attack, which is fantastic. Stiletto knives for close combat, and they also have access to choke gas grenades, which is a tox attack with a 3-inch blast template, which is all kinds of awesome. And that makes up your starting roster for this particular kill team. So now that we give you the starting roster, let's talk about exactly how you'll be using this gang on the tabletop. So your Assault Fire team is going to consist of your Plague Marine Champion, your Plague Marine Fighter, your Plague Marine Icon Bearer, as well as your Plague Marine Gunner with the Balefire Thrower. Your Support Fire team is going to consist of your Plague Marine Psyker, your Plague Marine Grenadier, as well as your normal Plague Marine as well. Now the tactics for this gang is actually quite basic. Your support fire team can engage your enemy at distance using suppressive fire. These guys are armed with an 18-inch psychic attack as well as 24-inch shooting attacks with their bolt guns. They also have access to plague grenades, with choke gas grenades, so they can allow their opponents to take them out with toxin attacks and suppressing your enemy. While this is occurring, of course, your assault fire team, which is the main killers of your gang, are going from an exposed flank and charge right through it. Your plague champion as well as your plague marine icon bearer have stiletto swords with plasma pistols, very deadly. Your Plague Marine Fighters got the Tenebrous Scourge, which is a great versatile range attack weapon. And your Plague Marine Gunner, of course, is that template attack with a Balefire Thrower. So you'll be cleaning up your enemies by assaulting the flanks. The idea here is that you want to engage your enemies in a crossfire and then swoop in on both sides to attack around your enemy and to destroy them effectively. Now let's talk about campaign development as your gang progresses through a campaign. Now depending upon your budget, I'd highly recommend you get more fighters. You probably get 3 more fighters in your gang because it doesn't really make sense to take your gang roster above 10 fighters just because very rarely will be allowed to take more than that in this scenario. But if you're not going to plan on spending any money on actually getting new miniatures instead, that is not a problem at all because you can equip these fighters with all the war gear and equipment they need to be successful over the course of the entire campaign. My first recommendation is to get them respirators as well as photo goggles. The reason why is because respirators actually increase their toughness characteristic against toxin and gas attacks, which is going to be very important for you because you have a high toughness gang, so your opponents will be using gas and toxin attacks to try to take you out. At the same time, photo goggles are extremely important as well because they take care of any conditions where you have visibility as being a problem. Also, another thing you want to do, of course, is to equip all your fighters with bolt pistols if you can, so that way they have a backup shooting attack that's also strength 4, as well as an additional close combat attack as well. And plus, that's what usually Space Marines carry as their sidearms. Another piece of equipment you could also purchase for your gang are bio boosters for all your fighters to make them even more resilient, so that way if they do lose their very last wound characteristic, they can roll 2 recovery dice and pick which one they want to keep them on the tabletop. You could also use weapon accessory like gun sights and gun shrouds, and as well as ammunition to make your gangs even more useful as well. You could also get things like war gear like crack grenades or fire grenades if you want to. You can get everyone choke gas grenades if you want to. Telescopic sights actually would be very good for your characters who are armed with the bolt guns, that way they can use their short range modifiers for long range shooting attacks. So that's something you can look forward to as well. Another great addition to these guys, of course, is their armor. Additional armor is never a bad idea. You can actually upgrade these guys to have carapace armor if you want to later on during the course of your campaign, or if you want to, you can slap a blade of overlay on top of that to give you a +2 armor save. Field armor is also another great idea too, so that way you have a 5 up ward save, and you could put in Guardian Forge cloaks too, so that way they have a 5 up ward save against environmental effects, as well as 1 additional armor save onto their armor as well. There's a whole lot of things you can do with your gang in terms of war gear to make them very competitive, especially if you're not planning on buying any additional miniatures to make this gang even larger. So in conclusion, recycling miniatures for multiple games is the ultimate cheapskate move. And like I said before, skirmish games are very low cost anyways. You only need a box of miniatures to play in most cases. And saving money is more important now than ever before, especially with the inflationary times that we're living in. So being able to use the same set of miniatures for multiple games is going to be able to help you achieve those goals. And of course, if anyone gives you any hassle about it, just realize they're probably upset because they didn't think of the same idea as you. So don't worry about it. And if you end up using this list, please let me know. I would love to hear in the comments boxes down below, because I have a lot of time to actually make these lists, but I don't really have much time to actually test them on the tabletop personally. Unfortunately, my schedule just doesn't allow for it. So I'd really love to see what you guys end up doing with this team if you end up using it in your games of Necromunda. So that's good for this, you guys. As always, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is invaluable to us as always. Also check us out on Facebook, Instagram, as well as blogger.com for all the latest greatest hobby news related to this channel. That's good for this week, guys. I will catch you guys next one. Peace out and stay classy.